The alien ship dropped out of slipspace with a silent flash above a dead world. The blue-green glow of its energy drives faded, leaving only the cold darkness of space and a single planet below. Earth. Commander Vorlek stood on the bridge of the Seeker of Dawn, eyes wide and unblinking. "We have returned," he whispered, voice echoing softly through the metallic chamber. After 30 millennia, the cradle of the experiment awaits. Around him, his crew stirred with awe and curiosity. They were descendants of the Arathan Empire, scientists, explorers, and the last watchers of the human project. 30,000 years ago, their ancestors had left this world in chaos. Back then, humanity had been young and reckless, yet full of potential. The Arithans had built a great research outpost in Earth's orbit to study them. When the Empire fell, the Arithans fled, leaving behind that station as a monument to both science and arrogance. Now, after ages of silence, they had returned. "Scan for the base," ordered Vorlek. "It should be in high orbit, above what used to be the North American continent." Designation Station Epsilon Prime sensors hummed. Lights flickered across the control panels. The bridge filled with a low thrumming sound as computers processed the data. Seconds passed. Then silence. Lieutenant Aura, the sensor officer, turned slowly. Her scale shifted to a pale blue. Fear. "Commander, there's nothing there." Vorlek frowned. "Expand the search radius." The base was built from reinforced quantum alloys. It cannot simply vanish. The crew obeyed. Waves of sensor pulses rippled across the planet's orbit, scanning deeper, further. But the results came back empty. No structure, no debris. Not even a trace of radiation or metal residue. It was as if the massive orbital station had never existed. Vorlek's heart thudded. "Check planetary signals." Perhaps humanity moved it. Maybe they advanced. But the next report struck harder. "No artificial transmissions," Aura said. "No power grids. No orbital traffic. The planet is silent. There are no signs of civilization at all." The bridge filled with quiet disbelief. For beings who lived for centuries, 30,000 years was an enormous gulf of time. Civilizations should rise, fall, and rise again. But for Earth to be empty, it felt impossible. The commander approached the viewport, staring down at the planet. Oceans still shimmered under the distant sun. Continents still existed, though reshaped by time. Storms swirled over deserts, but no lights burned in the night. No satellites drifted in orbit. It was a world asleep. "What happened to them?" murmured Vorlek. "The humans were unstoppable once." The first officer, Kaelren, bowed his head. "Perhaps they destroyed themselves. Many species do." "No," said Vorlek. "Humans were different." He remembered the ancient records, their wars, their art, their boundless curiosity. The Arathans had once feared that humanity would surpass them. To think they could simply vanish. It didn't make sense. "Prepare a landing team," the commander said at last. "We'll go down to the surface." The shuttle lightfall pierced the clouds and descended into what was once North America. The sky glowed orange, filtered through dust and ash. The landscape below stretched endlessly, a mix of cracked plains, collapsed cities, and vast forests reclaiming steel skeletons. The ruins of a megacity came into view. Once millions had lived here. Now it was nothing but silence. The landing skids touched the ground beside a half-buried tower. The aliens stepped out in their shimmering suits, scanners flickering with faint light. "Air is breathable," said Aura. "Radiation minimal. But no digital signals, no power. It's as if technology never existed here." Vorlek walked forward, boots crunching on ancient glass. He reached a toppled statue, its surface eroded by time, but faint carvings still visible. A human face stared up from the dust. He brushed away dirt. The inscription was nearly gone, but one word remained: humanity. A chill ran through him. "They remembered who they were," he whispered. "But where did they go?" The team spread out, searching. Inside a collapsed museum, they found walls covered with strange symbols, paintings of people looking toward the stars, and what appeared to be ships ascending into light. "Commander," said Kaelren, voice tight. "I found something." He led Vorlek to a chamber deep underground. In the center, encased in a crystalline shell, was a small glowing orb. It pulsed faintly, as if alive. Aura scanned it. This is not Aerothan technology, but it is old, very old. Estimated age, over 30,000 years. The commander's eyes narrowed. Could it be human-made? Yes, she said, but it's using energy patterns we've never seen before. The orb pulsed brighter, responding to their presence. A vibration filled the chamber. The dust stirred, and for the first time in ages, a sound echoed. A voice, faint and mechanical. We are not gone. The aliens froze. We have moved beyond the stars. Then the orb went dark. Silence fell again. Vorlek stared at it, feeling something between wonder and dread. Humanity had not perished. They had done something else, something greater. Retrieve it, he said quietly. We're taking it back to the ship. As they ascended into the night sky, the dead Earth watched in silence. But deep beneath its surface, something began to stir, an ancient hum awakening after 30,000 years. The orb sat inside the containment chamber aboard the Seeker of Dawn, still cold and silent after that strange message. The crew gathered around the reinforced glass, staring at it with a mix of fear and fascination. Commander Vorlek stood closest, his eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. We heard them, he said quietly. A voice, a signal. Somehow it recognized us. Lieutenant Aura checked her instruments again. No known transmission source, she said. It wasn't a recording. It reacted when we touched it. It spoke to us. The first officer, Kaelren, crossed his arms. It said they moved beyond the stars. Could that mean they left the planet? If so, how? There's no evidence of large-scale departure, no launch debris, no energy trails, nothing. Vorlek didn't answer immediately. He was watching the faint patterns of light shift across the orb's surface. It almost looked alive, like something that was thinking. Commander, said Aura, with permission, I'd like to run a deep scan. Maybe the energy within holds data, some kind of quantum imprint or memory. Do it, Vorlek ordered. Hours passed as the scanning systems hummed. The ship drifted in orbit, silent and alone. Beyond the windows, Earth's shadow swallowed half the planet, painting the ship in silver light. Inside the lab, Aura's scanner beeped. She frowned, reading the results. This is strange. The energy signature doesn't match anything in our database. It's layered, almost as if there are thousands of signals overlapping. Kaelren leaned in. Thousands. Yes, each one microscopic, but together they form a structure. It's like a neural pattern. Vorlek's gaze sharpened. A mind. Aura hesitated. Possibly. The commander turned toward the orb again. You think this could be one of them? A human? That's impossible, Kaelren said. No biological body could survive 30,000 years. Not even stored as data. Aura's screens flickered. Maybe not a body, she whispered. But consciousness can evolve. The orb pulsed again faintly. The light within it shifted, becoming a rhythm, a heartbeat. Then words appeared on Aura's screen. Not spoken, but written in the universal code of translation. We waited for you. The crew froze. We left you a message. Aura's voice trembled. It's communicating through the scanners. It's inside the ship's network. The lights dimmed. The air hummed. A holographic projection flickered into life above the orb, an image forming out of light and static. A human face. The crew gasped. It was unlike any human from the ancient records. The features were smoother, almost ethereal, eyes bright like stars. The being smiled faintly. I am Aeon, it said, voice calm but powerful. Representative of the human continuum. Vorlek stepped forward. Continuum? What happened to humanity? The hologram tilted its head slightly. We transcended. No one spoke. The being continued. When the old world died, we faced extinction. But we chose a different path. We turned inward, into thought, into light. We abandoned the flesh and became more than matter. Kaelren frowned. You mean, you digitized yourselves? Aeon shook its head. Not digital. Not mechanical. We became energy, woven into the fabric of the universe. We left this planet when it could no longer hold us. We expanded into the cosmos, not through ships, but through the quantum sea itself. The crew exchanged glances. This was beyond anything they had imagined. Vorlek's voice was low. And the base? The Arathan outpost that once watched you? Aeon's expression darkened slightly. Destroyed. You left us under surveillance. You treated us as subjects, not equals. When we learned the truth, we ended your observation, but we remembered you. We watched your kind fade into dust, and we waited for one of you to return. The hologram flickered again. Aura whispered, "It's angry." "No," said Vorlek softly. "It's disappointed." The hologram's light dimmed. "We do not seek vengeance. But we have questions. Why have you come back?" Vorlek stood tall. "To learn what became of you. To understand what we lost." Aeon stared at him for a long time, as if searching his soul. Then it said, "Then you must see." The orb glowed suddenly, blindingly bright. The ship's alarms flared as systems overloaded. Crew members fell to their knees, clutching their heads as images flooded their minds. Visions of cities made of light, beings drifting between galaxies, thoughts shared across millions of minds at once. Thoughts shared across millions of minds at once. They saw the rise of a new humanity, beyond flesh, beyond death, spreading like starlight. They saw them shaping nebulae, weaving energy into worlds and whispering through the dark. Then it ended. The orb went dark again. The ship fell silent, except for the slow, fearful breathing of its crew. Kaelrin was the first to speak. "That was them? That's what they became?" Vorlek nodded slowly. "They are no longer just human. They are something else now." Aura looked at her scanners. "Commander, the orb's energy is dropping. It's dying." Vorlek touched the glass. "Can we stabilize it?" "No, it's fading too fast." The orb pulsed one last time, and a final message appeared on the screen. "You are not alone. Others are watching." Then the light vanished. The crew stood in silence, each lost in thought. Vorlek turned to the window, staring down at Earth's dark surface. "What do you think it meant?" asked Aura softly. The commander didn't answer right away. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, he said, "It means something else is out there, and they know we've returned. Outside, in the far reaches of the system, something stirred, massive, silent, ancient, and it began to move toward them. The silence in the ship felt heavy after the orb went dark. The faint hum of the engines was the only sound that filled the void. Every crew member avoided eye contact, each lost in thought about what they had just seen. The idea of humans transforming into pure energy, becoming something beyond life and death, was too vast to process. Commander Vorlek stood on the bridge, staring at the holographic display of the solar system. A thin red line blinked near the outer edge. Something massive was moving toward them. "Report," he said, his voice calm but cold. Lieutenant Aura worked quickly at her console. "Unknown contact detected beyond the orbit of Neptune. Size enormous. It's not natural." Kaelrin frowned. "How enormous?" Aura swallowed. "At least the size of a moon. But it's moving. Fast. Too fast for something that big." The bridge lights dimmed as they magnified the image. On the screen appeared a dark shape, almost invisible against the stars. It shimmered faintly, as though made of glass and shadow. It wasn't a ship, nor a rock. It was something else, alive, yet artificial. Vorlek's eyes narrowed. "Are we being scanned?" Aura hesitated. "No, it's watching us." Kaelrin gave a sharp look. "You mean it's observing but not interacting? Like we're the ones being studied now?" No one answered. The commander turned toward the main display, his reflection caught in the cold blue light. "Put us in a defensive posture. Power the shields. If it makes a move, I want to know before it blinks." The crew hurried to obey, but deep down, everyone knew that if something this large wanted them gone, shields would mean nothing. Hours passed. The mysterious object stayed at the edge of the system, never approaching, never retreating. It just drifted, silent and patient. Kaelrin walked over to the commander. "Sir, what if it's connected to the humans?" "The orb's message, others are watching. What if that's them?" Vorlek nodded slowly. "I've considered that. But it could also be something worse. Something watching them." Kaelrin's expression darkened. Suddenly, Aura's console beeped. Commander! We're receiving a signal. It's not from the object, it's coming from the dark side of Earth's moon. Vorlek turned sharply. Origin point? Exact coordinates of the old Arathan base site. That made the commander freeze. But we scanned that location. There was nothing there. Aura looked pale. There's something there now. Minutes later, the Seeker of Dawn descended toward the moon's surface. The gray dust stretched endlessly beneath them, broken only by craters and jagged cliffs. They approached the coordinates, and to everyone's shock, the scanners began picking up structures, massive towers of metal and crystal rising out of the lunar shadows. It's cloaked, Aura said in disbelief. It's been hidden this whole time. Kael'ren's voice was tense. That's impossible. No cloak could last 30,000 years. Unless, Vorlek murmured, someone kept it running. The ship hovered above the ruins. From space, they had seemed lifeless, but up close, faint lights pulsed deep within the towers, slow, steady, almost like a heartbeat. Commander, Aura whispered, I'm detecting movement inside. Power signatures. Non-Arathan. Unknown origin. Vorlek stared at the dark structures. Prepare a landing team. The landing craft touched down near what had once been the outpost's central spire. The airless silence pressed against their helmets. As they approached the main door, a faint shimmer spread across its surface. Then, without a sound, it opened. The corridor beyond was illuminated by soft, pulsing light. Dust floated in the air like frozen time. Kael'ren raised his weapon. Stay alert, they moved deeper inside. The walls were covered in strange carvings, symbols that looked part human, part Arathan. It was as if two languages had been fused together. Commander, Aura said, scanning the patterns. These markings, they talk about a Watcher network, some kind of guardians. Vorlek frowned. Guardians of what? Before she could answer, a faint sound filled the corridor, a low hum, almost musical. The lights brightened, and a figure appeared ahead, standing in the doorway. It was tall and slender, its body made of flowing light and shadow. Not entirely solid, not entirely energy. Its eyes glowed like stars. Identify yourself, Vorlek said firmly. The being tilted its head. When it spoke, its voice was layered, many tones speaking as one. We are the Watchers, the crew exchanged uneasy glances. The ones who wait, the voice continued. The ones who guard the boundary between flesh and light, Kael'ren whispered. They're protecting the humans? The being turned its gaze toward him. We were created by them, by those who transcended. The continuum needed guardians to remain behind, to watch, to protect, to keep balance. We were left to ensure no one disturbed the cradle. Vorlek's voice was steady. We mean no harm. We came to learn. The being studied him for a long moment, then said, Learning always comes with a price. The lights flickered. In an instant, the crew was surrounded. Dozens of Watchers materialized from the walls, their glowing forms circling silently. Kael'ren gripped his weapon tighter. Commander, hold, said Vorlek sharply. The first being raised a hand. The continuum knows you are here. They watch through us. They have not decided whether you should stay. Vorlek took a slow step forward. Then let us speak to them. The Watcher's light brightened. You will, but understand this. When humanity transcended, they left behind more than bodies. They left behind the echoes of what they once were. The rage, the fear, the hunger for power. These echoes still linger, deep within the void. Aura shivered. What are you saying? That not all who ascended remained pure, the being said. Some refused the light. Some became something else. They are not human anymore. They are the forgotten. The lights flickered again, and the shadows in the hall seemed to move on their own. Commander, Aura whispered. Something's happening outside. Over the comms, a voice from the ship crackled in panic. Sir, the object beyond Neptune, it's gone! It vanished from all sensors. Then silence. Vorlek felt a cold chill spread through him. Get us back to the ship now. The Watcher's glowing form stepped aside. You wanted to learn, it said softly. Now you will understand. As they rushed back toward their shuttle, the moon trembled. Far above, the darkness between the stars rippled, as if something vast had awakened. And somewhere, in that endless black, the forgotten opened their eyes. The Seeker of Dawn tore through space, engines glowing pale blue as it fled the moon's orbit. The crew was silent, each one shaken by what they had seen. The Watcher's words echoed through every mind. Not all who ascended remained pure. Commander Vorlek stood rigid on the bridge, staring at the empty blackness ahead. "Status report," he ordered. "Shields holding," said Lieutenant Aura, her voice trembling slightly. "But communication with the lunar surface is gone." The Watchers cut all channels. Kailarin's hands clenched behind his back. "They let us go too easily," he said. "If they truly guard humanity's secrets, why didn't they stop us?" Vorlek's eyes narrowed. "Because they wanted us to leave. They wanted us to see what's coming." Aura looked up sharply. "The object beyond Neptune, still nothing on scanners." The commander turned toward her. "Then keep looking. Whatever was out there didn't just vanish. Something that size doesn't disappear. It hides." Hours later, the ship crossed the orbit of Jupiter. The crew began to relax slightly, though none could shake the tension in their bones. Then a faint signal cut through the silence, a whisper of static over the comms. Kailarin frowned. "Is that from the Watchers?" Aura checked her console. "No, it's not on any frequency they used. It's old, ancient. It's coming from deep space." "Source?" asked Vorlek. "Behind us," Aura said. "Far behind." The main screen flickered, showing a faint shape emerging from the void, a shadow moving faster than light should allow. It wasn't solid, not quite. It was a storm of darkness, a swarm of distorted light bending reality around it. Vorlek felt something deep within his chest. Fear. A primal instinct his species hadn't felt in centuries. Kailarin whispered, "What is that?" Aura's voice cracked. "Commander, it's not giving off energy. It's consuming it. It's pulling power from the space around it." Then came the voice. Not through the comms, not through the ship's speakers, but directly inside their minds. "You returned." Every crew member froze. "You awakened the signal." Every crew member froze. "You awakened the signal." The lights dimmed. The ship's systems flickered. Aura's console sparked as data streamed uncontrollably across the screen. "It's in the network!" she shouted. "It's taking control!" Vorlek slammed his fist against the command rail. "Cut power to all systems, now!" The ship went dark. For a few seconds, only the emergency lights glowed red. In that blood-colored glow, the darkness outside began to take shape. It wasn't one creature, it was many. Thousands of fragmented shadows drifting together like a living nebula, each with faint outlines of human figures, faces stretched in silent screams. Kailarin whispered, "Those shapes, they look human." Aura shook her head. "No, they were human." The commander spoke softly. "The forgotten." The voice returned, louder now, layered with countless echoes. "We are the others. The ones left behind. The ones who refused the light." A chill swept through the bridge. The crew could feel them, millions of minds twisted and broken, hungry for something they had lost. "They ascended," the voice said. "They abandoned us. We were not ready. We were not chosen. We remain between." Kailarin clenched his jaw. "They're bitter." "Not just bitter," Vorlek said. "They're angry." The shadow outside grew brighter, glowing with faint red light. Energy readings spiked. Aura yelled, "Commander! They're draining our power! The whole ship!" Vorlek grabbed the intercom. "Engineering, reroute all energy to emergency thrusters." "Get us out of here!" The engines roared to life, pushing the ship forward. But the shadows followed, faster, hungrier, drawn by the faint pulse of life aboard the vessel. "They're chasing us!" Kailarin shouted. "Set course for the asteroid belt," Vorlek ordered. "We can lose them in the debris field." The Seeker of Dawn dove into the field of rocks and dust, weaving between tumbling asteroids. Explosions of light flashed as fragments of the shadows slammed into stone, dissolving like smoke. For a moment, it seemed they had escaped. Then, a whisper filled the air again. "You cannot hide from what waits in the dark." The main view screen went black. A single human face appeared, pale, cracked, with eyes of burning red light. "I am what they left behind," it said. "I am what they feared to become." Vorlek stepped closer. "Who are you?" "I am the remnant. I was once human. I remember pain. I remember the fire when the flesh burned away. I remember watching them rise into light, and leaving us to rot in shadow. The voice deepened. Now you have returned. You woke the memory of what was lost. You brought the light back, and we will take it. Alarms blared again. Aura screamed, "They're breaching the hull! Energy readings spiking inside the ship!" The walls rippled. The shadows poured through solid metal like mist, forming shapes, half human, half energy, faces flickering with rage. Kaelrin fired his weapon, energy bolts slicing through them. But it did nothing. The shadows simply absorbed the blasts. "Fall back!" Vorlek shouted. They retreated toward the engine room. The air shimmered as reality twisted. The remnant's voice echoed through every corridor. "You cannot destroy us. You cannot understand us. You left your mark on this world, and now it will devour you." The lights went out again. For a moment, there was only silence. Then the emergency backup lights flickered on, revealing the bridge empty. No shadows, no movement. Aura's voice came softly through the comms. "Commander, they're gone. For now." Vorlek exhaled slowly. "Not gone," he said. "Just waiting." He turned to the window, staring into the endless black beyond. Somewhere in that darkness, the remnant watched them, waiting for another chance to strike. "Set a course for the edge of the system," he said finally. "If humanity's light still burns somewhere, we need to find it before they do." As the ship's engines flared and the Seeker of Dawn vanished into the void, far behind them, the shadow swarm gathered once more, and deep within it, the red eyes of the remnant glowed brighter, watching, learning, and whispering one word into the silence: return. The Seeker of Dawn drifted through the dark beyond Saturn, its hull scarred and systems flickering weakly. Every light seemed dimmer now. Every sound echoed too long. The crew had escaped the shadows of the forgotten, but not without cost. Commander Vorlek stood on the bridge, staring out at the void. He had faced wars, storms, and the collapse of his empire, but nothing like this. The remnant's voice still whispered faintly in his mind, haunting him even in silence. Lieutenant Aura broke the quiet. "Long-range scanners are back online, Commander. I'm detecting a faint signal, non-hostile." "Origin?" Vorlek asked, not turning. "It's far beyond the system," she said. "But it's not a natural signal. It's structured, repeating patterns like a beacon." Kaelrin frowned. "A human beacon?" Aura nodded. "Maybe. It's faint, but the energy signature matches the orb we recovered on Earth." Vorlek turned then, his eyes glowing faintly. "Set a course. Follow it." "Commander," Kaelrin said carefully, "if this leads us to the continuum, are you sure we want to find them? The Forgotten nearly destroyed us. What if the others are worse?" Vorlek paused. "We must know. If they still exist, they might be the only ones who can stop what's coming." He looked out the window again. "Besides, the remnant isn't finished. We can feel that, can't we?" No one argued. Days passed as the ship glided through the endless dark. The beacon's signal grew stronger, guiding them toward a region of space where even starlight seemed to bend strangely. Aura studied her console with unease. "Commander, the signal's origin lies inside a gravitational anomaly." "It's like a wound in space." Vorlek nodded slowly. "A rift." Kaelrin's jaw tightened. "You think the humans built it?" "No," Vorlek said softly. "I think they became it." The Seeker of Dawn approached the shimmering rift. It looked like a curtain of light pulsing gently, colors shifting across its surface like liquid stars. "Prepare probes," ordered Vorlek. "Let's see what's inside." Aura launched the probes. "They vanished into the rift without a trace. No signal, no return, nothing," she said. "It's absorbing all data." Kaelrin frowned. "It's like the shadows, but inverted." Before anyone could respond, the ship trembled. A pulse of soft white light spread across the hull, and suddenly, the entire bridge flooded with radiance. Then everything changed. The crew found themselves standing, not on the ship, but on a platform made of glowing glass, floating in an endless white void. There was no sound, no gravity, no heat, just a deep calm. Vorlek turned slowly. The others stood beside him, eyes wide, weapons useless. A voice spoke, gentle and clear. "Welcome, travelers. You followed the light. Before them appeared a human figure, tall and luminous. Unlike Aeon, who had seemed like a hologram, this being felt real. The light from it was soft, alive, comforting. "I am Seraph," it said. "One of the Continuum's guides." Vorlek stepped forward. "You are part of the humans who transcended?" "Yes," Seraph said. "We have watched this galaxy for many cycles." "You have awakened old echoes. The remnant," Vorlek said grimly. "They attacked us. They spoke of pain, of being left behind." Seraph's expression dimmed. "They are the shadows of what we once were. When we left the physical world, not all minds were ready for the transition. Some resisted. Their fear twisted them. They became the void." Kael'ren crossed his arms. "Then why didn't you destroy them?" "Because they are still us," Seraph said quietly. "To destroy them would be to destroy the memory of what humanity was, the part that still feels anger, grief, desire. Without them, we are incomplete," Vorlek frowned. "And yet they destroy everything they touch." "They nearly consumed us." Seraph's light pulsed faintly. "They seek the light because they have forgotten it. You encountered them because your ship carried traces of our energy, the orb you recovered. It was a beacon, meant only for those who sought understanding." Aura spoke softly. "If that orb was meant for us, then you wanted us to find you." Seraph nodded. "Yes, you came searching for what was lost. But now you must choose whether to help us heal what remains broken, or to run." Vorlek's eyes narrowed. "Help you? We can barely survive their attacks." "Not help us," Seraph said. "Help yourself. The remnant is awake because of you. When you opened the orb, you connected your minds to their world. They now remember the Arithans, the Watchers who once judged them." Kael'ren stiffened. "They want revenge." Seraph turned toward him, eyes full of sorrow. "They want balance. They believe your kind still seeks to control life. They will come for you and for us." The void around them shimmered. Images appeared. Worlds made of light and others swallowed by shadow. Fleets of ships falling silent. Stars dimming one by one, Aura whispered, "This is what they're doing." "Yes," said Seraph. "Everywhere they touch, energy fades. They devour it to fill the emptiness inside them." Vorlek stared at the images. "Can they be stopped?" Seraph's form flickered faintly. "Only by restoring what was broken. The link between shadow and light must be rejoined. You carry part of that link." He looked confused. "How?" Seraph raised a hand, and the air shimmered. The orb appeared before them, glowing brighter than before. "You took this from the earth. It holds the memory of both paths, the living and the transcended. You can use it to open the bridge between realms." Kael'ren stepped forward. "And what happens if we fail?" Seraph's voice softened. "Then both paths will end. The light will fade. And the darkness will consume everything." The white void began to dissolve. The ship reappeared around them, alarms blaring softly. Dissolve. The ship reappeared around them, alarms blaring softly. Vorlek blinked, gripping the command rail. They were back, but the orb now floated freely in front of him, glowing stronger than ever. Aura gasped. "Commander, it's activating again." The orb's light expanded, forming a pulse that reached far beyond the ship. Across the solar system, sensors flared alive. Something had been awakened, both in light and shadow. Kael'ren whispered, "We've just lit the signal for both sides." Vorlek stared into the orb's light. "Then we'd better be ready." Outside, beyond the stars, two forces began to move, one of radiance, one of darkness, both racing toward Earth. The Seeker of Dawn shuddered as the orb pulsed brighter, filling the ship with light that seemed to breathe. Every console flickered, systems humming as if alive. The crew shielded their eyes, but Commander Vorlek did not move. He stood still, staring into the radiance like a man staring at destiny. Lieutenant Aura's voice trembled. "Commander, energy readings are off the scale. The orb is linking to multiple points across the system. It's creating some kind of network." Kael'ren leaned over her shoulder, frowning. "A network of what?" Aura swallowed. "Bridges. Space-time pathways, connecting different dimensions." Vorlek's voice was quiet but firm. "Between the continuum and the forgotten." Kael'ren's head snapped up. "Then we have to stop it. If those two forces collide, this entire system could cease to exist." Aura finished grimly, but the commander shook his head. No, this is what Seraph wanted. The bridge must open, or nothing will ever end. Not the pain, not the hunger, not the war. Kael'ren clenched his fists. You're talking about merging light and shadow, Commander. You can't merge life and death! Vorlek turned toward him, eyes glowing faintly in the orb's reflection. Maybe that's exactly what humanity already did. The orb floated higher, humming with deep resonance. A column of golden light burst from it, piercing the ceiling and shooting into space. Sensors screamed as shockwaves rippled through the solar system. Aura gasped. It's forming an anchor point right over Earth. Outside, above the dead planet, the light twisted into a swirling ring, a glowing portal forming high in orbit. The void bent around it, and within the spiral, faint shapes began to emerge. Kael'ren's voice was low. They're coming! The Seeker of Dawn entered Earth's orbit once more. Below, the planet was quiet, lifeless. Above, the glowing ring grew larger, surrounded by dark waves of energy gathering on the other side. Contact! Aura shouted. 2 signatures detected, one bright, one void. The Continuum and the Forgotten are converging. The ship trembled as the 2 cosmic forces approached each other. On one side of the portal, vast shapes of light emerged, human-like silhouettes, radiant and calm. On the other, the remnant's darkness swirled, millions of shadow forms screaming silently. Vorlek's chest tightened. It's them! Both of them! A voice echoed through the bridge, not from speakers but through every mind. The bridge opens. The wound returns. It was Seraph and Aeon and countless others, all speaking as one. Their tone was solemn, filled with both hope and sorrow. Then another voice, darker, colder, crawling like smoke, answered, We will not be forgotten. The space between them erupted. Light and darkness collided in a storm of energy that tore through orbit. The Seeker of Dawn shook violently, alarms blaring. Aura screamed over the noise. Shields collapsing! We can't stay here! Hold position! Vorlek commanded. We started this, we finish it! Kael'ren turned on him. You'll kill us all! Maybe, Vorlek said. But if we run, they'll follow. And the whole galaxy will burn. The portal's light intensified. Shapes moved within, millions of luminous beings clashing with the remnant swarm. For a moment, the crew saw what no living creature had ever witnessed. A battle between thought and void. Between what humanity had become and what it had left behind. Every flash of light revealed worlds, memories, lives, faces. Humans long gone reborn in energy, and every wave of shadow showed the opposite. Faces twisted by pain, rage, regret. Aura whispered, It's not a battle, it's a reunion. The orb pulsed faster. Its light flickered between gold and black. It was struggling, trying to hold both sides at once. Vorlek stepped forward. They can't merge. They're tearing reality apart, Kael'ren shouted. Then destroy the orb. No, Vorlek snapped. It's the only thing keeping the bridge stable. Without it, the collision will collapse into a singularity. Then what do we do? Aura cried. The commander stared at the orb. We complete the bridge. Kael'ren's eyes widened. You can't be serious. Vorlek turned toward him. Seraph said we carry the link, the balance between shadow and light. Maybe that means us. We've seen both. We've judged and been judged. He took a deep breath and reached for the orb. Commander, no! Aura shouted, but his hands closed around it. The light consumed him instantly. The bridge erupted in a blinding flash as his body vanished into radiance. Inside the light, Vorlek felt weightless. He stood in a space between worlds, half golden brilliance, half endless black. Around him floated countless shapes, the luminous figures of the Continuum and the shifting forms of the Forgotten. Seraph appeared beside him, her voice calm. You came, Vorlek's voice was soft. They'll destroy everything if this continues, Seraph nodded. Then stop them. Bring balance. How? By showing them what they've both forgotten, what it means to be human. The darkness surged forward. The remnant's face appeared, red-eyed, broken. We remember the fire. We remember pain. What is left to balance? Vorlek raised his hand, and the orb floated between them. The pain and the light were never enemies, he said. You were both the same once. You just forgot. The two forces hesitated. The orb glowed brighter and memories flowed through the rift. Images of old Earth, families, laughter, war, creation, destruction. All of it human. The light dimmed. The shadows trembled. And for the first time in millennia, they touched. A single human silhouette emerged from the chaos. Neither light nor dark, but both. Its eyes opened, calm and knowing. "We are whole," it said. The portal stopped expanding. The storm of energy froze in silence. The remnants' whispers faded, their forms dissolving into the glow. The continuum's radiance softened, merging into one great pulse of calm light. The bridge stabilized. Verlek felt the energy pulling him apart. Seraph's voice echoed faintly. "Thank you, traveler." "The wound is closed," he smiled weakly. "Then humanity is at peace?" "For now," she said. "But every light casts a shadow." "Remember that." The Seeker of Dawn floated silently in orbit. The storm was gone. The skies were clear. Earth glowed faintly beneath them. Not dead anymore, but alive, covered in soft golden mist. Aura stood at the viewport, tears in her eyes. "The readings? The planet's atmosphere is changing. It's regenerating." Kael'ren's voice was hollow. "And the commander?" Aura shook her head. "He's gone." But as the ship turned toward the planet, a faint shimmer passed through the hull, a flash of light that felt almost like a heartbeat. Kael'ren looked up. "Maybe not gone," he murmured. "Maybe. Part of the bridge now, the orb was gone. The portal had vanished. But the stars around Earth burned brighter, as if something greater was watching over them. The silence after the storm was strange, too calm, too perfect. The Seeker of Dawn drifted above the planet once called Earth, its hull still shimmering faintly from the energies that had washed over it. Every system was offline, every console dead. Only the faint hum of the ship's life support reminded them they were still alive. Lieutenant Aura floated in the dim light of the bridge, staring through the viewport. Below, the planet no longer looked lifeless. Clouds had gathered, and streaks of blue water shimmered along its surface. The once dead continents now glowed faintly, as if the land itself was breathing again. Kael'ren stepped beside her, his voice low. "I don't believe it. The biosphere is rebuilding. Readings show oxygen levels rising, temperature stabilizing. It's like Earth is waking up." Aura's hands trembled as she adjusted her scanner. "Commander Vorlek did this. The bridge. Whatever it was, it changed everything." Kael'ren said nothing for a moment. Then, softly, he gave himself to it. Hours later, the ship's systems flickered back to life. Lights blinked on and soft vibrations returned to the deck. The crew, those who remained, gathered in the control room. Everyone looked tired, haunted. Aura spoke first. "Navigation is functional again. Communication channels are clear, but I can't raise command. No response from the Erethan colonies." Kael'ren frowned. "How is that possible?" She hesitated. "It's like they're gone. Every signal outside this system, erased." The words hung heavy in the air. "You're saying," he murmured, "that we're the only ones left?" Aura nodded slowly. "Or the only ones who remember." Outside, the light above Earth pulsed once more. A faint golden wave spread across the planet, like the heartbeat of a sleeping giant. Kael'ren watched it silently. "The Continuum and the Forgotten, they're gone too." "Not gone," Aura said. "Merged, balanced. The readings show new energy patterns, unlike anything in our database. It's like a whole new form of life is forming there." Kael'ren shook his head in wonder. Humanity reborn. The bridge doors slid open, and a technician entered, pale and shaken. "Sir, you'll want to see this." They followed him to the observation deck. Through the massive viewport, they could see the planet below, and something more. Deck. Through the massive viewport, they could see the planet below, and something more. Tiny points of light were rising from the surface, thousands of them, ascending like glowing embers. They floated upward, scattering into the sky, forming patterns like constellations. Aura whispered, "They're leaving the planet." Kael'ren frowned. "Life forms?" She checked her scanner. "Yes. Energy-based, intelligent, but not human, not exactly. They're new. A blend of both kinds, light and shadow in balance. Kaelrin felt his throat tighten. Vorlek did it. He didn't just save them, he created something new. Suddenly, a faint sound crackled through the comms, a voice, distant but familiar. "Do not fear." "The bridge stands," Aura gasped. "Commander?" The voice was faint, like an echo across time. "The balance holds. The light remembers and the dark forgives. Watch over the dawn." Then silence again. Kaelrin lowered his head. "He's part of it now." Aura smiled sadly. Part of them. Days turned into weeks as the crew repaired the ship and studied the changes below. Earth's transformation continued. Forests began to regrow, seas shimmered, and the planet's surface glowed softly with energy veins that pulsed like living roots. The new beings, the Echoborn, as Aura began to call them, moved across the surface freely, building strange crystalline structures that reached toward the sky. They didn't use machines, didn't speak words. They simply were. Kaelrin recorded everything. "This is history being rewritten," he said one night. Humanity ended and began again. Aura nodded. "And we're witnesses." But one question lingered in every mind. What now? The Arathans were gone, their empire erased or forgotten. The continuum and the forgotten merged into something beyond comprehension. The crew gathered one final time in the bridge, the blue glow of Earth filling the room. Kaelrin stood at the commander's console. "He would have wanted us to continue," he said quietly. "To learn, to watch, but not to interfere." Aura smiled faintly. The Watchers watching again. He looked at her. "No, not as masters. As witnesses," she nodded. "Then where do we go?" Kaelrin looked out at the stars. "Nowhere. For the first time in 30,000 years, I think we stay." Weeks later, a small beacon drifted through space, carrying a single message from the Seeker of Dawn. "To any who find this, Earth lives again. Humanity has become something greater. The cycle of light and shadow is complete. We remain to remember." The message repeated endlessly, a whisper in the cosmic dark. Far below, on the surface of the renewed Earth, the wind stirred the glowing grass. One of the Echoborn stood by a shimmering lake, watching the stars. It tilted its head as though listening. Then it smiled. In its reflection, for a brief moment, another face appeared. Familiar, kind, and proud. "Commander Vorlek." His voice echoed softly. Humanity was never about where they began, but what they became. The figure turned toward the sky as dawn broke over the horizon, a golden sunrise spreading warmth across the reborn world, and somewhere in that light, the hum of the Seeker of Dawn echoed faintly, carrying forward the memory of everything that had been, and everything still to come. The story should have ended. The bridge had closed. Earth was alive again. Humanity, reborn as the Echoborn, walked the surface in balance. And yet, far beyond the quiet system, something still moved. The Seeker of Dawn remained in orbit, watching over the renewed planet. Weeks turned into months. The crew, smaller now, lived in the soft glow of a world remade. Life felt peaceful, almost too peaceful. Lieutenant Aura sat alone in the observation deck, staring at the endless swirl of clouds below. "It's beautiful," she whispered, "like the beginning of everything." Kaelrin joined her, holding a small tablet. "We've mapped the entire biosphere. The Echoborn are spreading fast, building cities of light. They don't eat, they don't sleep, but they sing." Aura smiled faintly. "Sing?" He nodded. "Not with voices, with energy. Their songs vibrate through the planet's crust. It's like they're teaching the world how to live again." Aura's smile faded. "And the commander?" Kaelrin looked out the window. "Still no sign. But sometimes when the Echoborn sing, I think I hear him." Late that night, while most of the crew slept, a soft tone echoed through the ship. Faint, steady, almost musical. The sound wasn't coming from the planet below, but from deep space. Aura sat up, startled. The tone grew louder, turning into a pattern. 3 pulses, pause, 3 pulses again. It repeated endlessly. "Computer," she said softly. "Source of signal?" The ship responded with its cold, synthetic voice. "Signal origin unknown." "Direction beyond the galactic rim," Aura frowned. "Patch it through to the bridge." The main screen lit up, showing a star map zooming outward. The signal came from somewhere far outside known space, beyond the reach of Aerathan records, beyond any human exploration. Kaelrin entered, still half-dressed. "What's going on?" "Signal from deep space," Aura said. "It's not random. It's calling us." He leaned closer. "Play it." The ship translated the sound into visual code, a pulse of light forming ancient symbols. The writing was neither Aerathan nor human. It looked new. And yet one phrase appeared clearly in their translation system. "The bridge is not complete." The air on the bridge seemed to freeze. Kaelrin's voice was barely a whisper. "That's impossible." The bridge closed. "We saw it." Aura shook her head slowly. "Maybe it didn't close. Maybe it just opened somewhere else." The next day, Kaelrin called a meeting. The senior crew gathered, eyes weary but alert. "The signal's repeating," he began. "Every 12 hours, same message. I believe it's coming from another bridge. A second one." One of the engineers frowned. "Another." But the continuum and the forgotten were both drawn into balance. "There's nothing left to merge." Kaelrin hesitated. "Unless something else was watching." Silence filled the room. He continued. "We've always assumed the human's transformation was unique. But what if it wasn't? What if others tried to do the same?" Aura's eyes widened. "Other species?" "Yes," Kaelrin said. "Other civilizations. Ones who saw what humanity became and tried to follow." A low murmur spread through the crew. The thought was terrifying and thrilling all at once. They decided to investigate. Days later, the Seeker of Dawn left Earth's orbit for the first time since the event. The Echoborn stood on the surface below, watching silently as the ship rose into the stars. Kaelrin gave one final transmission before departure. "To those who remain, this world is yours now. Guard it well. We go to seek what lies beyond." The ship's engines ignited, and they vanished into the dark. Weeks passed. The signal grew stronger. The tone began to change, more urgent, almost desperate. The crew felt it not only in their ears but in their bones. Aura began having dreams of a place filled with glass towers and oceans of light, all flickering and broken. In every dream she heard the same whisper. "Help us finish what was begun." One night, she woke to find the orb floating again in her cabin, glowing softly. Though it had vanished months ago, she called Kaelrin at once. He entered, eyes wide. "That can't be." "The orb was destroyed when the bridge collapsed," Aura pointed. "Tell that to him." The orb pulsed. And then a voice spoke. Not Vorlex, but another. Calm, tired, human. We opened the path. Others saw. Others followed. But not all bridges lead to peace. Kaelrin's throat went dry. "Who are you?" The voice answered, "A fragment. A survivor. The ones who tried to become like us. Failed. Now they are calling. You must decide. Close the path or let them in." The orb flickered violently, then shattered into light that filled the room, and vanished. Aura stared at the empty air. "Commander, I think we just got our mission." Kaelrin nodded grimly. "We find that signal, and this time, we make sure the bridge stays closed." Months later, the Seeker of Dawn reached the edge of known space. The stars here were dim, dying, nebulae stretched like torn curtains of ash. The signal pulsed stronger now, echoing through the hull. Aura whispered, "It's close." Right ahead. Then they saw it, an enormous rift in the void, darker than night but rimmed with faint red light. It pulsed slowly like the heartbeat of a dying god. Kaelrin's voice trembled. "That is not human." The rift opened wider, and from within came whispers. Not words, but thoughts. Billions of minds crying at once. Aura covered her ears, but it didn't help. The voices were inside her head. "Help us. Finish it. Complete the bridge." Kaelrin gritted his teeth. They're trapped between realms. Whatever they tried to do, it failed. "They're stuck," The ship's alarms screamed. Energy tendrils shot from the rift, wrapping around the hull. "Commander!" Aura shouted. "It's pulling us in!" Kaelrin slammed his hand on the controls. "Reverse thrust! All power to engines!" But it was too late. The rift swallowed them whole. The Seeker of Dawn vanished from the galaxy. For a long time, there was only silence. Then, across the stars, a new signal began to pulse, faint but steady, carrying a single phrase in every known language. They followed the bridge and never returned. On Earth, the Echoborn stopped their singing and looked to the sky. They did not speak. They simply listened. For somewhere, very far away, in the dark between galaxies, the hum of the Seeker of Dawn still echoed, and within it, a faint voice whispered, "Neither human nor alien, but something new entirely. The story never ends. But something new entirely. The story never ends."